Meet Nick Fuentes.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them.
No, it's not the Jews. No, it's not women. No, it's not blacks. It's actually really complicated. No, it isn't at all. Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
A 27-year-old live streamer who has become one of the most notorious figures on the American far right. He bills himself as a champion of Western civilization and America first. But in that same breath, he's praised Adolf Hitler.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool.
And joked about the Holocaust, as if it were baking cookies.
The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million, maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies.
His followers, young online trolls calling themselves the Groyper army, yes, you heard that correctly, flocked to his nightly show America First to hear rants about immigration, feminism, organized Jewry in America, yes, Jewry, not jewelry, and the supposed betrayal of mainstream conservatives. Well, in this video, we're going to unpack who Fuentes really is, his recent Tucker Carlson interview that tore the conservative movement apart, and what his Groyper movement means for the future of the American far right. Nick Fuentes got his start as a political commentator during the first Trump presidency, riding the alt-right wave on YouTube that is here with us still to this day. He first gained national attention for attending the deadly 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. Yes, that Charlottesville, where white supremacists marched with torches chanting, "Jews will not replace us." Fuentes claimed he was there just for the free speech, like it was a gift at the Oprah Winfrey Show or something like that. Soon after that, he started his live stream, America First, drawing in disaffected, mostly white, young men looking for an edgier, more explicitly racist version of Trumpism. That's right, his audience thought primetime Tucker Carlson was too far left. He built an identity around being too toxic for Fox News, but too popular to ignore. And let's be clear, he's not just a provocateur, he's a fascist. Fuentes openly promotes Christian nationalism, rails against democracy, and dreams of an authoritarian Catholic theocracy where women can't vote and gay people don't exist. A Christian Taliban, in his own words. But here's the thing, Fuentes knows what he's doing. He disguises his very serious and disturbing political beliefs behind a thin veil of irony. And he's admitted it on camera. In a 2020 video, Fuentes said, and I quote,
But beyond that, irony is so important for giving a lot of like cover and plausible deniability for our views.
Think about that. He is literally telling you, I use jokes so I can spread Nazi propaganda without consequences. This isn't just trolling. It's a calculated strategy. He creates plausible deniability when he questions whether 6 million Jews really died in the Holocaust. And people call him out, and he goes, "Oh, I was just joking. It's just a joke, bro. You don't get it." Well, since they think this is all a joke, we need to treat them like clowns. Dangerous clowns with a fascist agenda. The Groypers, Fuentes' fans, and digital foot soldiers are the tip of the white nationalist spear dressed in Gen Z meme culture. They target conservative institutions and influencers they view as too soft, too multicultural, or too pro-Israel. In other words, the Groypers think Ben Shapiro is too woke. Their strategy: infiltrate conservative events, ask dog whistle-loaded gotcha questions, and flood online spaces with racist, anti-Semitic, and misogynistic propaganda under the banner of saving Western civilization. It's a simple rebrand of old-school fascism, just now with TikTok filters and Discord servers. And I'm all for right-wing infighting. But this infighting is leading to a place where the right wing is straight up mask off Nazis. They don't want to just reform conservatism. They want to burn it down and rebuild it into a Christian ethno-state. And they're increasingly testing how far they can go without getting banned, canceled, or called what they actually are: neo-Nazis with ring lights. I'm not complaining. I use ring lights as well. See that? But this is something else entirely. So why is Fuentes dominating the headlines right now? Well, because Tucker Carlson, the most influential voice in conservative media, decided to give him a 2-hour friendly interview on his podcast in October. And I mean friendly. Tucker Carlson complimented Fuentes multiple times, giving him a platform to spread his conspiracy theories, and they both railed against Christian Zionists and Republicans who support Israel. Ben Shapiro, conservative, Jewish, and usually allied with the MAGA movement, didn't hold back.
The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided, abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation.
Ted Cruz also started talking his shit.
If you sit there with someone who says Adolf Hitler was very, very cool, and that their mission is to combat and defeat global Jewry, and you say nothing, then you are a coward, and you are complicit in that evil.
He's probably going to run for president again and lose again. Then Tucker Carlson's homie, his day one ride or die, clapped back. Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation, the influential conservative think tank that wrote Project 2025, defended Tucker Carlson.
The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right.
Think about what that means. The head of one of the most powerful conservative institutions in America prioritized party unity over condemning a neo-Nazi. The rest of the Heritage Foundation did not take that so easily. Staffers inside Heritage were furious. One researcher posted a meme that just said Nazis are bad. A legal scholar who was on their board, Robert P. George, resigned in protest, and a task force dedicated to fighting anti-Semitism severed its ties with the Heritage Foundation. After all this blowback, Roberts tried controlling the damage, issuing a statement condemning Fuentes' views and scapegoating and firing his chief of staff. Nice. But the damage was done. The mask had slipped. President Trump defended Tucker Carlson, saying, "You can't tell him who to interview, and I don't know much about him."
I had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Which is wild because Trump literally had dinner with Fuentes and Kanye West in 2022. That sounds like a great time. But sure, he doesn't know much about him. Well, needless to say, this entire episode exposed a massive rift in the Republican Party. One side trying to maintain some semblance of Zionist support, and the other side debating if they should include neo-Nazis in their coalition. That's a toughie. Let's now dismantle the central arguments that Fuentes and his Groyper cult push. 1. America was built for white Christians. False! America was built by indigenous people, stolen by colonists, and built again by enslaved Africans and exploited immigrants from every corner of the world. It has always been diverse, even if that diversity has been violently suppressed and denied like it is in today's political climate. 2. Multiculturalism is a failure. Fuentes says this as he live streams from a country whose food, tech, labor, and economy all depend on immigrants and multiculturalism. What he really means is this: too many people who don't look like me are succeeding, and that threatens my sense of superiority. 3. Democracy is a broken system. Sure, if you think democracy is bad because it means women get to vote and gay people exist and minorities have equal rights, then yes, Fuentes hates it. But that's not a critique of democracy. That's just fascism with a TikTok account and better lighting. 4. I care about Palestinian suffering. Here's where Fuentes' hypocrisy reaches truly grotesque levels. This is a man who denies the Holocaust, who jokes about Jews being baked like cookies, suddenly claiming to care about Palestinian lives. Let me be clear. Criticizing the Israeli government, standing in solidarity with Palestinians suffering a genocide and a brutal occupation is not anti-Semitism. But what Fuentes is doing is not that. He's using Palestinian suffering as an opportunity and a prop to spread his broader anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. White supremacists like Fuentes have a long history of weaponizing conflicts in the Middle East to recruit people into their movements. They'll express a sudden concern for Palestinians, not because they genuinely care about Arab lives. This is the same guy, by the way, who called Islam a barbaric ideology, but because it gives them an entry point to spread anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. The tell is this. If someone claims to care about Palestinians, but also denies the Holocaust and promotes conspiracy theories about organized Jewry, they don't actually care about Palestinians. They're just using Palestinian deaths as propaganda to advance their own white nationalist agenda. Real solidarity with Palestinians means standing for their liberation, not just being against the Jews. It means supporting Palestinian self-determination while also condemning anti-Semitism. You can oppose the Israeli government without spreading anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But Fuentes isn't interested in liberation. He's interested in manipulation. He's trying to lure people who are rightfully outraged by what's happening in Gaza into his broader white nationalist worldview. Don't fall for it. The fact that Tucker Carlson is giving cover to Nick Fuentes should be alarming, not because Carlson will ever say the N-word on air, but because he doesn't have to. He can just promote America First values, rail against Zionist Jews, and give fascists like Fuentes a platform, all while pretending to be a legitimate journalist asking tough questions. The Heritage Foundation scrambling to contain this damage is a little too late. The right radicalized its base to the point where its own creation now wants to devour it. Nick Fuentes represents the logical conclusion of MAGA politics, stripped of dog whistles, full mask off. And if Republicans keep courting these extremists, they'll either become them or they'll be replaced by them. The Groyper movement isn't fringe anymore. When the President of the United States defends giving them airtime, when major think tanks struggle to condemn them, when sitting senators have to publicly fight their own party to push back against Nazi-adjacent ideology, that's not fringe, that's mainstream. I recommend Finland. So what do we do about all this? Well, we don't ignore it. We expose it, we talk shit about it, we mock it. We crush it with facts, history, and the weight of truth. Nick Fuentes isn't some harmless internet troll. He's a fascist with a growing fan base who's already been to the White House for dinner. And Tucker Carlson isn't just asking questions. He's laundering extremism like Nick Fuentes' views for millions of his viewers. And the Heritage Foundation isn't defending free speech. They're defending their political coalition at the expense of basic human decency. And here's the thing about irony and plausible deniability. It only works if we let it. When Nick Fuentes says, "I was just kidding," we need to say, "Shut the fuck up, bro. You literally admitted on camera that you use jokes to spread your hate." The antidote to fascism isn't civility or hearing both sides. It's calling it what it is, loudly and repeatedly, until people can't pretend they don't see it anymore. This is Teddy Brosevelt signing off. Remember, the only thing worse than a Nazi is a well-lit Nazi with a podcast and Tucker Carlson's phone number. Stay vigilant, friends, and never forget FDT.
Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, fuck Donald Trump. Yeah.
This dude also hates his own audience, by the way.
Friendly Girl says, "Hi, Nick. I'm a new viewer. I've watched a handful of shows, and sometimes you're extremely rude to super chatters. I feel so bad for the supporters sending you money just for you to tell them to kill yourself and shut up. I think if you're nicer, you'd get more money. Thanks, idiot."
He might just be trolling them too.